So those tuning in, this is Totto. That was part of the Wrath of the Lich King Undying challenge over this previous weekend. He's in the Speedrunning Guild Progress over in EU. Um, Anything else you'd like to add to that?
Not really anything. I'm a Boomkin Main, of course,
Yeah,
as
yeah.
people might know.
And have you guys even started doing actual speed runs in game, or?
No, currently we're only gearing. So right now we're doing 8 splits with 20 men each, and basically just brainstorming ideas and stuff for speedruns.
8 splits?
Yeah, 8 splits with 20 men each in it.
Jeez. Dang. Oh, 20 man. So yeah,
Yeah,
you're doing like the minimum.
exactly.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, I thought I had heard somebody say that you guys might have been able to do like 3-man groups for the heroics in the challenge. Did you guys have to do 5-mans?
Yeah, we had to do 5 months.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, how long ago did this whole thing start? Like, when did Blizzard reach out to you guys, or can you talk about that at all?
From as far as I know, Blizzard reached out to, as far as like when we actually got to know about it, the like players in the guild was a few weeks before launch, like
Hmm.
mid September, early to mid September. Was when we at least got to know about it. And I personally got into the what's it called, the roster like a week before the race or something.
Oh wow.
So it's not been a while. I was in there. I was in there for like 2 weeks ago from today. So
Oh, it's
yeah,
out.
basically 2 weeks for the actual event.
Let me fix you again. I messed it up. Yeah. Oh, does Toto mean anything? Where does Toto come from?
Totto was actually my dad's old nickname in WoW when he played. And
Oh.
then when I started playing, I just joined that straight up. I think he actually like got it from the band Toto because I know he likes him a lot. So probably from there from the beginning.
All right. I know. I watch like Sarth and Crix, and they just like edit their screens live like so fast, and I'm like,
You're like,
boomer.
how did
I'm
it do
boomer
this?
speed. Yeah. There we go. Now we're getting it. All right. So you only had like a week or two. How did they decide the 10-man roster? Because I know yours varied slightly from Star Forces. They had what? They had the 2 warlocks. You guys had the 2 DKs.
Yeah, we thought that the DK comp was gonna be stronger just because of the gearing process. As we were only allowed to go 2 5-man groups, and that would mean that as we had a disc priest playing Shadow on some bosses, we would have 2 casters in each group that would share loot basically. So just for pure gearing, it was easier for in that sense. And then we thought that the DKs could bring more than a second lock.
And I thought it was neat that they had more casters because Mark of the War Prisoner nobody ended up getting. So was that like one of the reasons too? Was because of like the caster hit that you guys needed to try to
Oh
get to?
yeah,
Yeah.
that's for sure a special one because like we were not allowed to do quests, right? So we couldn't get the Worm's Accord trinket, where you get, or the Wormcrest Temple trinket, which is like a mini warp prisoner, for example. Like it is, I think it's like 67 or something.
Mm-hmm.
If we would have been able to do quest, it would be a different story. But as we weren't able to, that definitely had a implication in that as well.
Yeah, I was wondering about the quest too because I was like, man, are they going to be able to use the like the spell power and hit candy from the event? And I was like, well, that's actually, I guess that's a quest. So
Yeah.
What?
We weren't allowed to do any quest. We had NG preset on the characters,
Mhm.
and we had vendors with like normal gear, normal dungeon gear, and we were allowed to use like the tinker items from NG. The rest was off limit. So no 200 gear. We had honored with reputations factions. So we were only allowed to buy 187 gear and lower.
Yeah.
So it was definitely a challenge, but it was. I think that was the fun part. Because if you compare it to live, right, you got hype that is like you got actual hype when loot dropped on the tournament run. For
Yeah.
example, our Protpala needed a weapon, and the last dungeon we did, the axe dropped from Oculus. It was like the most hype moment in the race, probably.
Even the headless horseman looked hype because there
Yeah,
was
that
some good
was
loot
really
from
good
there
because
too.
like
Yeah.
we got a sword, we got double head, we got
Hmm.
some caster rings. It was really nice.
So about the vendors, did they have the vendors like on the beta where they had like gems and enchants too that you could buy and keep in your bags?
Exactly. Yeah, they basically had exact same format as they had on the beta,
Hmm.
with gems and enchants.
And consumes too, so you could add like
Yeah,
unlimited
exactly.
potions. Yeah.
Potions, flasks, everything like that. The only thing we didn't have in consumes was we didn't have a food buff at all.
Hmm. And there was no way around that. You couldn't like fish or anything. And
Yeah, no, we couldn't
okay.
do anything outside of heroics, basically.
Hmm. Did they have you like just log on to do the heroics and then you had to like log off so you weren't just sitting there chilling, like being tempted to
We
do
could just
stuff?
sit there and chill to fix gear,
Hmm.
like basically enchant, gem and stuff, fix UI and all that. But other than outside the other one, you couldn't really do anything.
Yeah. Uh, yeah. So you started off with the Headless Horseman event and did the whole world tour, and then that was all day one. Day two, you got to do Sarth and Malagos. Um,
Exactly. Yeah. So progress, and we started the Malagos. We kind of coordinated that with Space Force because they also want to start Malagos. So we made it easier for the viewers basically as everyone started Malagos. That's where I got my only upgrade from the entire last day was from Malagos. I got the boots, which was
yep.
probably the second biggest thing I can get from there. So it was very nice.
I saw the boots drop and I was like, yes, he got him.
One of the best part about it, I had the 187 mace. So I was like praying for the mace or the staff to drop.
Yeah.
I actually simmed the staff prior to going in. There was like a 600 DPS upgrade or something stupid like that.
Did you guys have like loot planned out if it dropped in raid, like who was getting what? Did you have any loot that like you knew if it dropped you were gonna get it?
Both yes and no, because it was more like if it's an upgrade for you, need it and like use common sense. Like you, because everyone basically knew each other's gear, right?
Hmm.
So for example, if I knew it was an item that the warlock needed, it was like a big upgrade for him, I would pass, and vice versa.
Um, hmm. All right, so your spec. Did you dual spec at all? Like what kind of glyphs did you have in there? Were you swapping glyphs? Like Heigen, I know is a big one. Usually you drop that glyph of focus for like Moonfire or Starfire. Did you have a spec that you could send me, or if you don't
Yeah,
have it, that's fine.
I think I sent it to you. Yeah, it's
You
in the
sent
chat
it?
here.
Okay, okay, okay. Um,
I was running this spec the entire way through. We didn't really have time to change Glyph on Heigen because we just went straight in right and just instantly pump, 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 pump. So
yeah.
it wasn't really a time to change it. But if I would change it, I probably just would have gone. That's probably Innervate Glyph would be
Yeah.
the one I would have gone with if I would have changed.
I used Innervate Glyph a lot on the beta, but I haven't used it yet on live. Are you using that on live or?
Now on live, I'm using Starfall Insects for my focus.
Oh, this is
I
your
was
live too?
using, yeah, this is
Okay.
exactly the spec I'm using on live right now.
Okay.
I
Mm,
was debating if I should run Dash as minor glyph, but then I remember that that's as I dash the 3-minute cooldown, it resets by boss skills, and if you actually glyph it, it doesn't.
Yeah, I guess
So
once you get to that
it's
certain
actually
speed, yeah.
yeah, so it's a loss of actually glyphing dash compared to if you don't.
So no dream state is intensity just gives you more mana per
Uh,
5 than dream
yeah,
state does.
exactly.
Yeah.
I used the formula that's the last characters came up with
Yeah.
to figure out, and I also had more spirit, right? So it was more just worth it to go intensity.
And yeah, I saw you had the minor glyph for Typhoon. Were you using that like on cooldown on trash, I guess, right?
Yeah, so basically I've been messing around with nade typhooning, as I call it,
Mm-hmm.
because nade is off GCD, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I've been binding typhoon and nade together. So every time I use the typhoon, I throw a nade if it's off CD. So that's why I really like typhoon glyph, because it first of all it doesn't knock back. So for our comp, it makes a lot of sense because it doesn't knock it out of the D&D and the conk, and it just makes it easier for the melee right to connect. So I just use it on live as well, and I basically just use it off CD on trash.
All right. They're saying your cam is bugged.
Is it?
It's just me. No, no, no. Because I see it
Oh,
fine
okay.
on mine. It's just I must have to have like the Discord thing highlighted. It's a learning process for me. I apologize.
All good. All good.
So you're probably gonna be like freezing and unfreezing as I'm like clicking over different frames and stuff. All right, where are we at? Where are we at? Oh yeah, so like your boss rotation. How are you doing on the bosses? It looked like some of the fights, you were trying to like get that innervate off right at the end of the fight so that it would reset after the fight ended to get like 2 uses out of it. Was there anything else?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, was there anything else like that you were doing
Uh,
rotation wise?
if I could get a second tree off, I would always use that, right? To just pump a little bit extra damage, as trees is the highest GCD or DPS per GCD you can use. So even if I didn't get the full duration, I would just pop it because it resets right off the boss, right?
Yeah. And how rough was it not having as much crit as you're used to and not getting
It
eclipses?
was it was horrible. I actually checked after one because I went like 1 minute, 1.5 minutes straight just casting Wrath, and I had a total of 30% crit on Wrath throughout the entire run.
Yeah.
It was horrible.
Yeah, no mage in either group. I was like, I guess they don't bring too much. They bring what?
The only thing they really bring right is the 3% damage and
Yeah.
the intellect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then focus magic too, so.
Yeah.
But
Like if I compare it to live, right, where on live I have like 30% crit unbuffed,
mhm.
and now I had 20% crit actually buffed, so that's a big difference.
Yeah. If they did another 10-man, like do you think Boomy has a spot in the 10-man group if they did like a second challenge with it or
For sure. I think Boomy just brings too much raid buffs and utility for them to not be in the raid.
yeah.
Like if you also look at the raid buff Boomy brings, right, it's 3% crit or 3% haste overall. They bring the 5% crit for the casters. It's a spell hit, is everything like that. It's like it's just too much to lose basically, I feel like.
Yeah.
And the AoE in all gear levels is just pumping right so. And that's kind of what you want for a speedrun. You want a good AoE.
Yeah, so you
And
go ahead.
especially in this challenge where we had a rule where we could only use 2 characters or 2 of the same class per raid.
Mhm.
So we couldn't really stack warlocks or stack DKs. The Boomy was basically a necessity more than a plus. Kind of needed it for the buffs and for the pure AoE output.
Yeah. So you knew ahead of times, like, which packs you were going to be using Starfall to maximize your AoE on the trash? Did you have
Yes,
yeah, you had the route planned?
we had done some like practice runs beforehand, so we kind of knew all the pulls and stuff like that. So, and then it was some pulls, of course, there was like it was mishappens, we just pulled a bit extra, but it seemed to work out, and that's what saved us the extra time. We actually did a live run right before the event started, and that was a 105, and the live we did on the actual event was 103, so plus 30 sec, and then you got 30 second add. Yeah, so yeah, it was like one. Without the death, it would have been
Still
like
hitting your tank the
102
entire
something,
time. So you need to
and I think that time cut was all to the extra pull we did in military wing. It was accidental, but it seemed to work out. Then yeah,
Yeah. I
I don't know
saw,
if you've seen that as pull.
oh, in military. Oh,
Yeah,
uh,
it's basically our tank. We called for us to pull at the far pack. I send you the clip on Discord here.
okay.
And our tank thought that he meant to pull the pack in front of horsemen. So we just pulled like 4 packs or something in at once, which was a little bit monkey, but it worked out.
Onka pool. Here we go. I remember that. Yeah, because Wind Force got down to like what 2%
Yeah, this
HP.
was
His, their HP just dropped.
yeah. Our enhancement shaman even just stopped healing and he just went out and healed. Because here you can see like he is pulling the basically as the trash for the horseman, and then you sub a rogue with tricks on our tank just pulling beyond the horseman here because you needed the extra trash for the requirements,
Oh yeah.
and it was so messy, but it worked out. Everyone played so good in this, so the DKs actually saved so many lives here.
Yeah. How did they were the casters like Crick, Sarth, the Zyrene, and Hula Hoops? They were talking about warlocks using like meta to taunt. How often did your warlock use meta to do that? I don't know what the ability's called. That was something new I'd heard.
We actually never used that.
Okay.
Fun enough, people just thought that he used it because he got the aggro from the in that pull,
Mm.
and he got bopped. But that was basically just him pumping too hard to so he got aggro from it.
Yeah.
But I think having the AoE ton now as you run less warriors, you can kind of utilize the warlocks more like you used to utilize the warrior in the first 2 pulls in Sunwell, where you had a bop AoE taunt on them to go and set up so the tank and go and set up the next pull. And I think you might actually still use the warlocks with in meta something close to that again, which I think is going to be like so valuable.
Yeah. Uh, so was there any competition between you and Tetsu? I didn't even know that they played Boomy.
Yeah, there was a big competition between me
Yeah?
and Ivan. We went in and like trash talked each other beforehand because he's an ex-progress player, right? So I
Okay.
played with him before and I know him. But it was his first time playing Boomy really in Raft for this event.
Yeah.
He played a bit on live right to prepare for the event, but not as much as me. So I went in like I'm gonna show how it's done. I put you in the dirt, that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, at least I won over him in a DPS fight, right? So had to put myself out there.
I know. I just like after each boss fight, I'm like looking back and forth at the screens, like seeing Totto did this much DPS, Tetsu only did this much. Like, yeah, you're all
I think he even had a little bit better gear than me because he
yeah.
actually got a weapon compared to
Mm-hmm.
me. So
Yeah. Uh, where did they go? Yeah, let me see what weapon he had. I think
I
it,
think he
it
had the staff from Ankahet, if I'm not mistaken, Arsenal Herb,
hmm.
I think it was.
Oh, he had a staff of sinister claws. Ooh. I thought he had an epic weapon. I thought he got. Maybe I was just thinking of a warlock.
Yeah, I think yeah, the Warlock got the staff the Conny combat from Oculus.
Yeah. Ah, so yeah, back since we're talking about gear, you got the Idol of Steadfast Renewal. It looked like he was running Idol of Arcane Terror. So you got to spend your badges. Was there any other pieces that you bought other than the Idol?
Yeah, I bought the Idol and the Offhand for my
Offhand.
badges.
Okay.
That was mostly because I didn't get a weapon right.
Yeah.
And the idol that we had was a Moonfire idol, and you don't really use Moonfire. So I felt like that is kind of useless, kind of need an idol, right?
Yeah.
So idol was an idol and offhand because I needed offhand, right? As I had a one-hander and I needed a hit. And then the idol was just the clearest option. I can get with the rest of the badges.
Did you were you able to spend your valor emblems? I don't even know if you guys had time
Uh,
to
no,
like
we didn't have enough of them
but
to really buy anything.
and you couldn't like switch those to item or emblems of heroism to like buy like
No, we
a
couldn't
different
do
piece. Okay.
nothing like that.
Yeah. Hmm. Uh, Did you end up getting any loot during the raid?
I got the Malagot boots, and then I got nothing else in that.
Nothing in Naxx. Yeah, I was trying to like watch.
Nothing in like the chest drop from Horseman, and I was like, oh, this is gonna be so big if I get it.
Yeah.
But the Warlock needed as well, so and he won it.
Uh,
It's fair because he has a bigger braid buff right for if he gets it compared to me.
yeah.
As he actually scaled with the spell power and spears better.
All right. What else do we have? Yeah. So how did the pulls compare to like how you guys are pulling currently on live realms? Was the packs like
In
a little bit
25,
smaller? Yeah.
in 25 main currently, right? We're just doing splits. We haven't really done any of the like speedrun pulls. But compared to what we did on 10 men on live, we actually went smaller on live compared to what we actually did in the event. We went a little bit smaller because we were testing with like the big pulls on the first test run we did, and the first test run just didn't seem to be worth it to go with that big because we didn't have the gear for it. Could be just descale our gear on live, right? To basically tournament run gears. We had de-equipped like 4 or 5 pieces.
Yeah.
So then we basically just descaled the pulls to the size that we felt was comfortable. And then the last run we did was with the gear that we had basically acquired from the heroic world tour. So we basically put on 1 extra piece, 2 extra pieces, depending how much gear you got, and tested the mega pulls basically, and this worked out perfectly fine. So that's what we did on the event.
And if Blizzard did, well, I don't want to make you like say something you're not supposed to, but well, are there already talks of like a second event, or like what rules would you want to see if there were a second event? Like if they approached you and they were like, hey, like, can you give us some feedback about how the tournament went? Like, would you change anything? Would you keep most of it the same, like rules wise, or I mean, probably 25 man, right? Like not 10 man again.
Personally, I would love if there was a second event. I haven't heard anything, I don't know anything, but I would love it to be a second event. Like the 10-man one beforehand, you didn't think it was gonna be that good. But it actually turned out to be great. It was a lot of fun to play. It was very enjoyable. But if they would change something, I would probably just say that because now we had to all start in the SAS circle, right? With an admin just doing a poll timer basically to start.
Yeah.
And I think this is something they implement on live as well to have basically like on retail, like to have a mythic keystone in the circle. And you just basically start it, set on speedrun mode, and you get no lockout for it. It drops no loot, and you can do it as many times as you want. Because right now on live, we have basically the problem, right, where China can do unlimited runs, right, because their TOS is different to ours, so their account sharing is actually allowed in China.
Mm.
So China can do like 10, 20 speedruns a week if they want to.
Yeah.
Well, they have the guilds here. More it's like they do like 1, 2 speedruns a week. Some maybe do 3 if they have the characters of the same class for it. So I think this will even it out a bit more. To be able to do this. Let's say we can run 10 speedruns if we want to. And you won't get locked, no loot, nothing. That would be probably the one thing they could do, which would be a lot of fun.
And like, do you think a bracket style would work better instead of just like having two people? Like, I know this was just like their intro to the whole system, but
Yeah, we were actually talking about that a bit yesterday. After the whole event was like, Tat came up with this idea. It was like you could do like a 25-man race, like 1v1 elimination bracket, basically.
yeah.
So you have like a matchup between two guilds, and whoever gets the fastest speed on time just proceeds, which could be an amazing idea. But I feel like to facilitate that would be so much work to keep it up and like check everything and know like what's going on and everything and follow all the streams and everything. We
Mhm.
kind of need to do that over a week instead of a weekend.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like, I got you. Yeah, do a couple elimination matches during the week and have like the finals on the weekend.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Have like the semi-finals and finals on the weekend would be that would be a lot of fun if we did that. But I think for them to facilitate that, it would be it's so too much work. I think honestly.
Yeah. Did you want to talk a little bit about like the speedrunning plans that you have on Live Realms like coming up? How like do you know how long you're going to be doing splits for, and then do you have like a set date or lockout when you're going to start like trying to get push for time?
We have nothing set in stone really, right? Right now we're based in the gearing process and strat development, like trying to think of different tech, test some of them out in splits, see how they work, and basically just bring a bunch of different point of views from the splits into the speedrun comp and the speedrun tech development. And as of course, like progress played Naxx in Classic, so we of course trying to adapt some of the strategies that was used in actual Classic, see how they work here and etc. I don't really have a date for it, but people will know when we're ready to go.
Sarth will make a video. Oh my
Oh,
gosh, progress just broke the
he will
world
make a video
record.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
but we actually test some stuff that was used back in Naxx 40 and like seeing that works and stuff, which seems to work out. We use one of the strategies right in the 10-man comp or in the 10-man tournament now with pulling weapons into Vesuvius, which is kind of like an obvious strategy, we feel at least, but some people maybe it isn't, which is a fun strategy from Naxx 40 that still works, right? So
yeah, you say obvious. I hadn't seen that before. And when they were talking about it, they're like, "Oh yeah, they're pulling the weapons in." I'm like, "Wait, you can do that? Like that's a thing?" That was pretty cool to see.
yeah, on 10-man, right, you have the crystal, so basically the underside has an unlimited range on 10-man. So we just went and pulled on with the undersiders and actually tanked them with them, which worked perfectly, right? So
And then the hunter pulling mobs on Gothic. I hadn't seen that before either. I think I've heard of it, but
oh yeah,
it was cool
that's
to see
also
it live. Yeah.
yeah, that's also an old Naxx for the strategy, where you had a hunter jump through the gate and you had basically only casters on living side, and then you had everyone else on that side and just blasted through mobs that came in. And then you had a whole like full run with rocket boost and nifty all the way to horseman. But now you can basically just do it from the living side, just buff through because the gate opens, right? So it works very good.
And rocket boots wise, I forget which team they were saying was using it more. Was it you guys that were using it a lot more? Or did you guys use it a
It was
little less?
Space was using it more to move between places. We used it more to like engage with bosses better and move away from bosses better. For example, we used it in between the horsemen to move like from Fane and Riven there to Blemo, for example. And then we used it like after we kill Ferlin, we used it to get up the ramp faster. And then we used mostly like set up the giga pulls and get in position for the pulls and stuff. I think Spaceport used them more for like the long runs where you don't really have anything.
Yeah, there's one spot where I saw it's a ramp. I don't know which quarter it is, and it was cool to see everybody just like nitro boost and then parachute and just float down the long ramp.
Oh, after Gothic, yeah,
Yeah.
that's a nice one. That's a really nice one.
Yeah.
That's stuff you can do when you basically pre-clear the trash during Gothic. You have the potential or possibility to just fly down. Because if you don't do that right, you have a patrol usually right at the end of that ramp that you will fly into.
So you said that you guys are like kind of theory crafting your pools and stuff. What about the comp for the 25 man? Are there going to be two boomies? Are you just sticking with you as boomy or?
Personally, I'm hoping for two boomies. We have two fantastic boomies in the guild, or it's me and another guy called Muninia. Both like he is a fantastic player, so I hope that we run two boomies, but nothing is set in stone, right?
Yeah.
Everything is just speculations from all the people in the guild basically right now, what's comping and I run and stuff. But I think that's a very good like potential to run two boomkins just because of the AoE and stuff, and just the pure utility they bring.
And one more thing about your spells. Uh Innervate wise, were you getting to keep innervate? Were you tossing some to the healers? Like, how was that handled?
I was tossing some to healer and some to enhancement shaman and hunter. Um, if my mana allowed it on trash and bosses. So sometime on trash, right, I've been unlucky with omen procs. I had to use like hurricanes that actually cost mana instead of like just hurricane with omen. So I need to use it like before a boss or something to have mana actually to like do the boss fight. But if I got lucky with that stuff, I just usually just threw it on either the holy pala or the hunter often. But majority of times I kept it for myself, at least on trash. Bosses I was giving away to holy pala mostly.
So were you using mainly mana potions, or were you able to use any like DPS potions on bosses and stuff?
I was usually using mana potion on trash, and then in combat potion, if my man allowed it in like the fight, I was doing wild magic. But I would say majority of my potion was mana potion, just because I had so low crit rate, so I didn't really get the mana back from improved Moonkin form.
I mean, I think I've run out of questions for you. We kind of burned through those. Yeah,
And we burned those through really fast.
yeah, yeah. I mean, anything else you'd want to add to it, like that I didn't bring up to talk about, or
Not really anything that I have in mind.
yeah.
It's if you come up with anything more that you want to ask.
I mean, I could probably think of a couple things, especially like on like
Go
live realms, because there's all this talk about different specs and different glyphs and stuff like that. So
Oh, I've been
if you
theory crafting a lot of that stuff on live.
yeah, if you want to go over like your rotation, maybe not so much like during the tournament because it's kind of hectic in that I imagine, but like on live realms, what are you doing rotation wise as a speed runner for bosses?
Uh, for bosses, it's put a fairy fire first level, insect swarm, starfall, wrath. Just basically just normal rotation. And then I'm also tracking my Eclipse ICD, right? So if I see that I don't get, for example, a lunar or I get a solar eclipse when I'm casting Starfires, and when I see that's usually like 2 to 3 seconds, I just swap back to cast Draft, even if it's still ICD, just so I don't get the eclipse, the solar eclipse.
Yeah.
Because then I'm just stuck for 15 seconds, right? So that's basically just one of the only things I feel like I do different to some people.
Hmm.
Other than that, it's just full normal rotation. There's not much really can change with booming rotation wise.
And I know back when we were doing the deep dive, you were talking about uh, how you were going to be a jewel crafter. Is that still your same
Yes,
thoughts, engineering jewel crafting?
still same fast. I think a little speedruns that's a play. Uh, I think if you're a parser, you want to run tailoring. But if you're a speedrunner and just a casual player, I think JC is just better.
So I've been starting to idle swap. Have you been idle swapping at all? Is that something you might be interested in? Is it too
I
risky?
haven't, I still haven't been experimenting with it, but I think if you actually have the brain power to do it, I think it's a fantastic idea. It's such a good thing to do.
And even just if you're only switching like per fight, like say you use Starfire for some fights, I know like Lotheb might be one where Wrath kind of edges out, so having the Wrath idle on for that whole fight might make more sense. I think we need to.
I think you always want to have the Starfire on if you only having that on for the entire fight.
Mhm.
But I think when you would idle swap, it's basically just idle swap between eclipses. And I
Yeah,
think if you have the brain power to make a macro where you swap idle with with your Wrath, I don't know if that actually works to have a macro for it, but if it if it does work, that's something like everyone should do if they want to parse
yeah.
and just do more damage overall on bosses and trash.
So it works if you macro it with an instant cast. So most people are not using Moonfire, so you can make an Insect Swarm macro and use that to swap between both eclipses. Just have
Yeah,
two
that,
separate ones.
I might actually have to do that. I think that's might be my next time I experiment with the next reset.
Yeah, it's a little clunky, so you can do it with your 10 man first before trying to pop it on a 25 man. But
I'm gonna see what I can do with it. I think it's gonna be fun to experiment with it for sure.
yeah, because from what I've seen in TBC, it gave the whole 1.5 second GCD. In Wrath, looking at the
Okay.
logs, it doesn't do that anymore. It looks like there's no like it kind of goes with your haste now is what it looks like. It's hard to like track it down, but it doesn't. It's definitely not a whole 1.5 seconds like I thought it was because that's how it used to work.
Okay, I think if it's any sort of GCD for it, it's straight up just not worth it.
Well, I
I
mean,
think just to lose
you you
too much on it.
you stack it with your insect swarm, so it's the same GCD as your insect swarm
Okay,
GCD.
if it's that, then that's definitely just
Yeah,
worth it. I think.
but if you're trying to do it with Wrath or Starfire, it doesn't work like that. So it would do like the GCD for swapping and
After
then
the
start your
cast.
cast. Yeah,
Okay, yeah.
yeah. So it's got to be something instant cast.
Yeah, I think that you definitely just macro into insect swarm, then it has have two different macros for insect swarm.
Yeah,
One for Starfire and one for Wrath Idol.
but yeah, there's also some risk to it because if you hit your macro wrong, it's just gonna swap the idle and then pop
Yeah,
your GCD. But yeah, I think it'd be really cool to see in a speed run.
I think you kind of have to do it right in a speedrun if you wanna maximize the damage. It's given, right? Because you always want to push a little bit extra damage, even if it's just like 5-10 DPS, right? You
Yeah.
always want to push the damage.
Oh, so
So
go ahead.
so anything you can get out in a speedrun, I think you kind of have to do because you just want to push the extra time. Like that 5 DPS might be the difference of a world record or no world record. That might be a difference of that 1 second that you missed
So,
if everyone does that little bit extra.
yeah. So now that we're on to the little bit extra, you got me. You got my brain thinking. You guys are Alliance, and
Yes.
I main Horde, so I can still use a consume from TBC, the Scourge Bane Infusion.
Yeah.
15 damage to undead consume that's stacked with everything.
Yeah.
Is there any extra consumables that Alliance have that you're using
Yeah, we
or
actually have a thing from Draina starting zone where it's you get to pick between basically it's 3 different crystals where you have 10 AP crystal, 5 stamina crystal, and 5 int crystal. It's a half an hour buff, and you can have 10 at a time in your bag of each crystal. So that's basically what we do, right? To have that little bit extra, we have that extra 5 int or 5 stamina on the tanks and 10 AP on melee.
yeah. How do I word this one? Um, so like right now we have the Halloween candy. Are there other event items that you're aware of, like in the future, that you could be using? I forget what else there even is.
I
Like,
think if you have the chance to, you always want to use the percentage food, especially in a speedrun.
oh
Because at
yeah,
this
percentage
point,
food. Yeah.
I'm already above the best water in the game with
Hmm.
my current mana pool. So I think as percentage will scales with your mana pool, the more and more mana you get, the better percentage is just gonna be, right? Compared to normal water. So I think having percentage food is just a win. You just save so much time sitting and drinking with that.
Yeah. So there's no, or is there still the snowballs? Is that still a thing? You snowball and get some mana back from, what is it?
I'm not actually sure if that still works. I haven't personally tested it. I don't know anyone who tested it in RAF, but
Yeah.
it
Hmm.
works in TBC, right? So it
Yeah.
probably still should work.
Yeah, because there's no water walking, but that's another another way I know speedrunners used to get some mana back was
Yeah,
snowballs like on cooldown.
I actually had a full bank with like 500-600 snowballs, which like I used them for one raid, and there's like that was done. 500-600 gone in one raid.
Yeah.
Just stacked your bags with snowballs. And that's the good thing now, right? Because now in RAF you have the portable mailbox. You can just mail yourself more snowballs if you run out and just pop the mailbox in the raid.
Yeah. Is there any other like engineering tech that's new that you guys are using other than like the nitro boost or
Not really anything special at the moment.
yeah. Now that I'm thinking about engineering stuff, I don't know why it brought my brain back to this, but it almost looked like you guys were trying to like speed run and like beat them and the heroics and like especially like Malagos and Sarth. It almost looked like you guys were trying to like beat them in those too, even though it wasn't part of like the actual event. To
Yeah, it's always a bit of an internal competition, right? We always want to be the best. That's what we play this game for, right? We play this game to
yeah,
not just it's fun as well, right? But you we play this game to be the best, right? So
yeah.
it's always fun to win.
You
So my group, for example, in the heroics, we finished like 2 heroics before everyone else. Just because we pushed a little bit extra. We didn't really try to get it, but it just happened, and
yeah.
that was a lot of fun.
And then you guys were dancing at some point. I forget where it was, but
Yeah, we were dancing with the Arthas RP in Calling and Strattle, just
the
dancing on the
Strathlon, that's what it
bridge.
was. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. We even said that like, okay, if we win the event, we're gonna stand and dance on Katie's corpse. We just made a whole conga line when we killed him, and just stand and dance all of us in. Because basically, the characters that were made on the tournament all got like tuxedo when you like created them.
Yeah.
So everyone just de-equipped the gear and put on the tuxedo and started dancing. But they didn't even show that. So yeah, it was a
Oh
bit
yeah,
sad.
yeah, yeah. I know they showed the casters. Like who was there to watch them? Like
Yeah, exactly. We want to watch the dance, the conga session.
yeah. Oh man.
And the one was a lot of fun. I want to give a huge shout out to Blizzard and Space Force for competing. It was a lot of fun. Would definitely do it again if I got the chance to.
Yeah. Cool. That sounds like a good spot to wrap it up, man.
Thank you for having me on, Gu. Big shout out to the Progress boys in the chat. I know some of them are there watching.
Ah.
And now let's go smash the rest of RAF.
Yeah, man. Good luck.
Thank you, man.
See you later, man.
See you, brother.
Cool.